the immigration issue for undocumented, that threat level is extremely high, and we've got not just the sex trafficking going on, not just the people coming over looking for a new life, but you also have people of military age males coming in from all over the world and documenting from countries that we anticipate some conflict with. And on those situations, those are going to be mass casualty events, but it's going to be from a response point of view if we're not able to anticipate some of the moves and do those physical threat assessments.
Understood. Agreed. We talked about this before. And I do have some friends, family at the border, and I can tell you that to think that these people are just coming over from South America or just coming over from Mexico, that's not true. And the kind of people that are coming over, yes, it's families, but it's also young men who are in the age range of 18 to 30 years old, fighting age, who are just coming here. And so we have to kind of watch men who are on terrorist lists, men who should not be here at all, and they're coming. So like I said, when you think it's just compassion, I call it misplaced compassion. We need to be careful of our own borders, our own security, right? So we need to be very, very cautious.
Well, if we can identify them, because it's really the question there. When you're looking at 18 to 30-year-old men, you're looking at military-aged men who, the question is, why are they coming over here? Are they coming over here for a better life? Are they coming over here? Maybe what are the push factors? Are they coming here because it's terrible where they live right now, and they're the only ones who can make the journey because it's so arduous? Or do they have other intentions? Is there something more behind that? Right. So if we can identify them, like look into the background a little bit, maybe we can assess, hey, these guys, they're 18 to 30-year-old males predominantly, because it's a hard journey. Because they've got to slog through the jungle to get here, and they're the only ones that make it.
Well, yeah, and there's
or it could be something way more horrific than that, and but we don't know. Yeah, the fact is we don't know.
We don't know. We talk about in any group, right? You kind of learned this a long time ago in sociology. If any large group, you're talking about maybe 1% who are not good, who are going to fall astray of the law, right? Criminals. And if you talk about 1%, it doesn't sound like much. But now you're talking about 9 million people coming over here. 1%, if that's how small it is, 1% are criminals and have bad intentions. That's a lot of people we let across the border with bad intentions.
That's hundreds of thousands.
Yes, absolutely.
A group of nationalist Chinese recently crossed, and they were dressed not like they were short of funds. They were regimented with a group leader, followed orders, and they were allowed to pass into the United States unencumbered. And we're anticipating a 2025, 2027 conflict over Taiwan. And we're allowing military-age people from China, from Gaza, from all over the Middle East, from North Africa. We're allowing them to cross without any restrictions or any form of traceability, just a signature.
But
we really need to rethink our policies.
What check mark did they check? Was it business or pleasure when they were coming?
My goodness. My goodness.
Is that not on the?
I'm not so sure that's a.
That's not on the form.
They checked that other box, sabotage.
Anytime I go to another country,
sabotage. You caught me off guard. I was like, "Is he serious?"
Anytime I go to another country, that's the first thing. That's the first
is business
thing
or pleasure? And that might be a little bit of both.
and then for a visa, and a lot of these things, we have to do. I mean, we can travel freely within the United States, but let's face it: if we want to go to another country, there's customs, there's a border, there's checkpoints that we have to go through. We have to go through checkpoints to fly. If you want to fly on a plane, even between states driving, there are checkpoints.
Yep.
They'll stop you and ask you who you are, what's your country of origin, and and if you want to fly on a plane, you've got to be documented. You've got to have an ID. You have to have documentation. You're not getting on that plane just saying, hey, I'm Nick, and
like to party.
Yeah, I like to party.
That's fair. very true.
Yeah. No, I said this. We recently went to Canada. I didn't realize how difficult it was. The guy stopped us and talked to us at length. So that was very interesting. I would say this, like I said, a lot of people know came from a background of my whole entire family's Democrat, very left leaning. I myself was very left leaning until just a few short years ago. But I would say this: if you're watching the news, and it doesn't matter which news outlet you're watching, CNN, CSNBC, or Fox News, you know that there's conflict on the horizon throughout the world. It's happening, right? Simultaneously, with conflict all throughout the world, in interests that we have throughout the globe, there have been 9 million people who come in this country in a very short period of time. I mean, I don't think I have to take a far stretch. This should, at least, I don't know, I don't want to say alarm, but it should throw up a couple flags that, why is this happening? I mean, we should be aware of it. It should not be happening, regardless if you're a fan of this administration or not. This is what's going on is not good. It's not good for the country as a whole. It's just not.
There's a few things that could happen. There's a Remain in Mexico order. And basically what that is it says, hey, you can apply for asylum, and until you have a court date and are granted that, you remain in Mexico. So, what is that going to do? It's going to slow the flow of traffic through Mexico. And if it doesn't, I think Mexico is going to step up, and they're going to start controlling some of their border,
Right.
Their southern border as well, right? What's happening right now is they can claim asylum. They're given a court date. They're led into the interior of the United States, and then they're gone.
They disappear.
I don't know what percentage of them actually show up for a court date. I'll find out that information. From what I've heard secondhand is that it's not a large percentage.
Right.
And right now there's no accountability.
Right.
There needs to be.
Well, and then you have to start to think too, if you're not showing up for your court date, why not?
Yeah.
Like, what are you running from? What are you trying to hide?
Well, and how is this going to affect them? So now we have 9 million people in the interior, right? Some of these people are documented. Some of them are going through the process. Great. Eventually, you go through, the classes to become an American citizen. There are steps you have to go through. Some of the people are taking those steps. They'll become American citizens. What about everybody else? So what happens with them? Like, how are they getting jobs, paying taxes? How are they moving around through the country unimpeded? Mm-hmm. When we as American citizens aren't even allowed that opportunity.
Right.
Like I said, I can't go to the airport and just jump on a plane and go somewhere without, people knowing who I am. I can't sit here at this desk, collect a paycheck without having it be taxed by the state of California and the federal government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's happening here?
No.
Right.
If you're an undocumented,
Go ahead, Ken.
Go ahead, Ken.
if you're an undocumented immigrant at this moment, you can walk through TSA with nothing more than here's my document saying I have no ID.
Yeah.
Yet we're all required to take off our belts and shoes and whatever else there might be. So we definitely have an administration that is bypassing its constitutional obligations. And at this point, it seems to me that it may be closer to a treasonous act, because, or at least something that is susceptible to impeachment. Because again, the law is quite clear as far as immigration goes, and as far as how it's to be administered. The
There's been
actual
papers
event
filed.
of allowing people across the border without any documentation, catch and release, if you will, seems to be a violation of the law.
It is. It is a violation of the law, and the Republican Party has filed impeachment papers against Mayorkas for failing to do his job with Homeland Security. But think about it, like
His defense will be,
as we're breaking this down. Think about the implications that this could have. So if I commit a crime and I flee the state, to avoid being prosecuted for this crime or going to court or whatever, facing up to what I did. If I jump on a plane, it's documented. They know about where I've gone you know, and wherever, if I flew to Florida, they can alert the state of Florida, hey, this guy's wanted in this state. He did this, you know, he flew the coop. He's got a warrant. If you stop him, identify him or whatever, that warrant's going to come up. Say I get pulled over for a taillight or speeding or something in Orlando. That cop is going to see that. It's going to come up. I don't know, you know, I'll get thrown in jail, and then it's up to whatever state, say California, to decide they want to extradite me back to California and prosecute me, right? But if I'm not documented, and if I'm getting on a plane and I don't have to show a photo ID, all I have to say is, hey, you know, I don't have documentation, I'm here illegally, and they get to fly somewhere else in the country, now you can have people committing crimes and then just disappearing.
5 illegal immigrants attacked 2 police officers in New York. They were arrested, and they were out on the street before the officers got out of their hospital check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that.
I read that story this morning where one of them walked out shooting the bird with both hands to the media.
Yeah, that's
Again,
it's a sad case.
If we aren't going to be a nation of laws, we won't survive very long.
Well, you know, I don't want to try to be the voice of doom and gloom, having done the job. It is horrendous. I just think it's time for a little bit of a wake up. And again, coming from somebody who was, man, I was straight ticket Democrat for most of my adult life. And now I'm more principle over party. I don't really claim a party, but I would say that is right, that we are a country of laws, and it does matter. And there does need to be an adherence to laws. If you break the law, you need to go to jail.
Certainly, and I'm you know, kind of feel just like George does. I'm not real political. I'm more of a common sense person. Like, what makes sense? And it makes sense that we should be accountable, right? It makes sense that everybody should be able to, like, provide or have documentation. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
For safety reasons too, right? And I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, it shouldn't be a political issue. This is constitutional law. This is something, we have laws for a reason. Everybody has to follow them. If we have an influx of 9 million people who don't have to follow them, that's an issue that needs to be solved immediately, and it's not being addressed.
It's a tough one. Again, like I said, I try to be not the voice of doom and gloom. It is alarming. I did see that video. It's in my blood. Being a police officer, a cop, if you will. So it's very alarming, very upsetting, and I can only imagine what it was like for my brothers out there to being kick stomped by a bunch of people. And did you notice all the other citizens who came and helped? Oh yeah, you didn't see it because it didn't happen. You know, it's alarming. We're the people out there that are trying to protect the day to day, and to say that I feel society has turned its back on us, that would be an understatement. So. Hold people accountable, especially when you're harming and violently attacking the people whose job it is to protect us, and you're not holding them accountable. You know, shame on you. But anyway, that's about as negative as I'm going to go, because I do see optimism. I do see, because we travel a lot throughout the nation. I've said it before. I feel the pendulum is swinging back to common sense. I feel like the pendulum is coming back, that we realize that having district attorneys who don't hold criminals accountable is a huge mistake. I do see the fact that defund the police was a horrible idea, right? You need to support your police departments, and maybe if you want to use the term reimagine, like I've talked about before, working with Doug Green from San Antonio Police Department, we talked about that word. Defund should never be used again. Reimagine the police department. Reimagine what police work should be. I'm all behind that.
Well, and let's also, soapbox moment for me, let's quit making our police officers villains.
Oh.
It's just like any other group. You're going to have one that's terrible. They're bad teachers. I just read another article this morning. A teacher got arrested in San Antonio for sending inappropriate pictures to a minor.
Oh.
Where's the outrage over that, right? There are more cases of teacher misconduct every year than there are of officer misconduct. But
always.
We don't villainize teachers, as we shouldn't, right? There's always a bad apple. There's bad psychologists. Not me. I'm fantastic.
Yes, you're fantastic.
Not me.
You're the best.
Yes, thank you. But there's bad physicians, there's bad dentists, there's bad police officers, there's bad firefighters, there's bad in every single group.
Yep.
Why did we make it all of a sudden about 10, 15 years ago, oh, you carry a badge, you must be just a terrible person that's a power-hungry freak.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of, we've talked about it before, messaging. Did you have something, Ken? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just I would say and add to what Melissa just said. This country was designed. Our system doesn't work unless we take responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility, and like George pointed out a moment ago, no citizens jumped in to help. Although I did enjoy seeing the one young man try to kick the guy and land on his backside. That was pretty good. But again, I really think that we have to start taking responsibility. And I'd also like to see another law enacted that said that if you are underage and you commit a crime like looting stores or whatever it may be, your legal guardians are responsible financially. You want to see a lot of those kids that are out carousing all night and causing problems. You want to see that curbed? Wait till their parents have to pay the bill.
Right.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah, well, and prosecute them.
Yeah.
It's hard to steal things from jail.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Good.
Other than a shoe or a pillow.
Good point.
Well, you say that too when you go back to their parents being accountable, right? Certainly there are some bad kids with great parents. But another particular story we were just discussing last night, there was the family of a 13-year-old that was shot and killed in San Antonio is suing the officer in the city. Well, that young man, right, was out at, I think, 3 o'clock in the morning in a stolen car. And when pulled over by police, he didn't stop. He backed his car up. And you could see it on video where the officer opens the door to get out. He just runs his car straight into that patrol car. Well, the year before, his sister had been killed in, I think, a shady drug deal. Where were the parents then? Again, it's not always the parents' fault. But when it is the parents' fault, yeah, they should be held accountable. I know where my child is at 3 o'clock in the morning. My oldest is 16 and a half. I know where she's at.
Yeah. If you're a good parent with a bad child like that, you're going to look for help. If you're a bad parent that does not know where your children are after dark, okay, then you need a wake-up call. And my thing is, when your child is behind bars and you get a bill, you might wake up.
Yeah, you're right. Nick, I wanted to touch on what you said. I thought it was very funny. I was reading a little essay from Thomas Sowell, Dr. Thomas Sowell, and he mentioned in one of his articles, which I thought was fascinating, which it's a concept of an argument that incarceration doesn't solve anything, or something to that effect, right? You hear that from the left a lot. However, it was very interesting in his articles, almost in every country where you increase putting people in jail or incarcerating them, putting them in prison, the crime rate does go down. So when people say studies show that that's not true, well, actually, studies throughout history show that that is true. When you arrest criminals, people who actually should be in jail, guess what happens to the crime rate? Can anyone guess?
It goes down.
It goes down.
100%, because we don't have. There's not a giant rise in criminals right now.
No.
There's a giant rise in crime.
Yes.
Right now.
Boom.
If you have
80%. I'm sorry.
You look at
80% of the people are the repeaters every time. 20% are new offenders, but 80% are repeat offenders that have been let out of jail by a DA that won't enforce the law.
They have broken the law 8, 10, 15 times and more. Mm-hmm. But if you're not prosecuting crimes, so if 1,000 stores get broken into, and the DA gets a packet of these, and they're all under $1,000 that was stolen, that DA could just throw those out.
Yes.
Instead of addressing those, that's a crime.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be a violent crime, but it's a crime nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of those are going to eventually lead to violent crimes, but it shouldn't matter.
No.
What matters is that they broke the law. There should be accountability. They should pay restitution to the business that they stole from, because it makes things more expensive for all of us.
For the rest of us.
And unsafe. There's confrontations happening in these stores you know, and now the policy is to just let them go. So, you know,
The last defund the police movement in San Antonio, correct me if I'm wrong on this because I'm not going to get all the details right. It was going to be something like for a crime under 700. So I come to your store, I spray paint your store, but it only costs, $695 to clean it up. Don't even call the police. I'm not going to get arrested.
Yep.
So I can just walk around and do all the damage I want to up to
$750 or steal.
Or steal. Oh yeah, that's true. I can go in a store, I can pick out my 15 pairs of whatever, but it costs less than $715. Don't even call the police. You just get to, as the store owner, you just get to absorb that.
Well, and that adds up. That adds up. What's going to happen? If this isn't checked, what happens to that store? That store has a choice to make. It can raise all its prices, and we pay for that.
San Francisco.
We pay for that cost. Or that store may choose to just leave.
Yeah.
Hey, this neighborhood isn't going to get any better. I'm going to move my business somewhere else.
I like
Which is not good for the neighborhood or the neighbors
Oh, yeah.
that are a big, like the positive.
Well, those are jobs lost. Those are jobs lost.
People can't buy their food, medical, whatever from that store, like a Walgreens, a Walmart, whatever you want to say. I always like to use, I love when we use the San Antonio as an example, right? A little observational truth. I was worked there on the east side of San Antonio. Captain Chris Anderson was my boss, right?
Yeah.
And there were times when the crime rate would start to rise in our area, right? He'd put us together. We'd put on directed patrol, a group of officers going out, and we were making arrests. And he would get with us that day and say, 0 tolerance. For the next 6 to 8 weeks, it is 0 tolerance in these areas. We would go out and arrest everybody from a Class C misdemeanor warrant to riding for pedestrian roadway, whatever you call it, having drug paraphernalia, and we would arrest everyone for about 6 to 8 weeks. And guess what would happen to the crime rate in the 41 seconds? It would plummet.
Because they know there's going to be a consequence.
Yeah. Well, the people we would arrest were our repeat offenders, right? You think the guy who does the little smash and grab is not violent. He just took something out of the car. That's the same individual who maybe tomorrow, the next day, is going to be assaulting somebody. Well, once we take all the little foot traffic and knock down every vehicle we can for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm telling you, 0 tolerance. Captain Chris Anderson, God bless you, said 0 tolerance. You would be in trouble if you came across somebody with a Class C misdemeanor warrant. You didn't arrest them. You arrested them. And we cleared that street for 6 weeks straight, and that the crime rate plummeted. So I said that this is my little observational truth, and I've heard people speak nationally and talk about mass arrests, mass incarcerations do nothing. I would say you're wrong, and you haven't done the research, because I've been there and we've seen it. I've seen it and been a part of it. When we arrest people, that in that 8-block area, when we were making arrests, crime rate went down. And so it's observational truth. Someone who's actually done it and observed how the crime rate is affected by us arresting criminals. Crime rate goes down. Hey, so anyway, I just wanted to say to my great friend, Dr. Melissa Graham, 17-year friendship, somebody who has worked for the city of San Antonio for 20 years, officially retired today. I don't think that you're ever going to know all the help you did, everybody you impacted in your life, and I just want to say thank you. That was it. Just sorry for getting emotional, but you've been a great friend and helped so many of us. A lot of people don't understand what firemen, police officers go through on a day-to-day. They don't. And you've done a great job with assisting us, providing us with our own mental health programs where we can get involved, and it's okay, the things we see. And you've just been a great friend, a great family. You're part of us, and we all appreciate what you've done for us, and that you continue to work and continue to come on shows like this and talk about the things we see and experience on a day-to-day, and being an advocate. And I just wanted to say thank you. I want to say thank you for being here.
Though, I want to say back to you, thank you for saying that. But I really do truly feel like I've been the lucky one. I fell into a career with the police department. That was not the path I was going to go, but I needed a job and it was open. And I found myself there for 14 years, right? The general public does not understand what you guys see, police or fire. They don't get it. And you guys really are I say guys, you know what I mean?
Guys and girls.
Guys and girls, but I always just say guys. I'm too old to change my political. I can't get into this her, him, it thing.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I was blessed to work with you guys, because truly first responders, I think, are the best of us. The firefighters that run into burning buildings to save other people, right? The police officers that run towards the sound of gunfire where 2 million people are running away. A little bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
The public vastly underappreciates first responders, and I think that's a shame. I tell everybody, come spend one day with first responder. Go see what they see every day, and then maybe you can have a comment on it.
Yeah.
Or these people that down police officers all the time. What? Hey, the academy's always hiring.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like I'm the lucky one because I've always felt a part of a family, right? And I don't know that there's any group of people more loyal than first responders.
Yeah. Thank you. No, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.